back with another NHS Wellness podcast, and I have Dr. Myers with us again today. And I'm so excited about today because we have Deb Armstrong, Rusty Armstrong, and Randall Yunker. So and they're all followers of the Dr. Myers diet, as it's been called. So I'm just going to let Dr. Myers take it away, and I'll ask questions as needed.
Well, it's first of all, this is how we were supposed to, how we were designed to eat. This is the, anyway. So try to give a synopsis. A year ago, I was sick and fat and dying of insulin resistance. I didn't know that was my problem. I thought it was that I was morbidly obese, which I was, and I thought that my morbid obesity was my health problem. I also had several other issues that I was either taking medicine for or being non-compliant on taking medicine for, and I will try to recount all of those, but I had, the worst one that I had was asthma. I had asthma that developed in my 30s, and it was getting progressively worse every year. I was taking multiple medications for that, singular inhalers, occasionally steroids, and that would be affected with the seasons. And but that was a particular challenge for me. I had arthritis. That was getting progressively worse, specifically in my hips and in my ankles, and especially after I would operate all day, I would be very sore. I was developing arthritis in my knuckles, which was affecting my ability to play music and sometimes even to operate. I had hypertension. I was supposed to take medicine for that. I was non-compliant with that, and my blood pressure, when I had it checked at the height of my sickness, it was 180 systolic. It was terrible. I didn't have labs. I'm sure I had labs that were bad, but I just didn't have because I didn't want to know. I knew it was bad. I had gastroesophageal reflux, so I would have heartburn. I took medicine for that chronically. I would reflux at night and aspirate and choke sometimes and wake up choking from acid reflux. I had anxiety and depression. I had venous insufficiency, for which I wore compression stockings, and on my feet all day. That was always a problem. And then that was, even wearing compression stockings, I was having problems, and I was considering having to have surgery for that, having some kind of venous ablation procedure for relief of that issue. I had gingivitis. And I would brush my teeth 4 or 5 times a day, and every time my gums would bleed. I had, I don't know if I've named all of them, at least those number of problems. But I had a moment last summer where I saw a video of myself playing music, and I just had like a tap on the shoulder or something. Something that tells me, man, you are dying. Would you look at yourself? That's a guy that's dying. And I thought of dying of obesity, and I was like, you got to start losing weight. And I have lost weight before when I was a kid by starving myself and exercising, so calorie restricting and then running 6 miles a day. Mm-hmm. And so I looked fit in high school, but I didn't feel good. Right. I was always hungry, and I just couldn't keep up with that in medical school. I got to medical school, and then especially in surgery residency, I didn't have time to take care of myself, and so I got fat. And I thought, this is just part of aging, and for whatever reason, I'm just going to have to live with this. And I thought it was a issue of just not having time to exercise, and it was a calorie expenditure problem, and it wasn't. The problem was that my insulin was chronically elevated from eating carbohydrates, and chronically elevated insulin over time wreaks havoc on every cell, every tissue, every organ in your body. And that's all a product of what you eat. Right. So that condition is called insulin resistance, and that means that the cells in your body, in every cell, every organ, in your body becomes resistant to the effects of insulin because you're having to create this extra amount of insulin all the time because you're having to keep your blood sugar in a narrow window of safety. Eventually, you become so resistant that you physically can't make enough insulin, and then you start getting hyperglycemia and you get type 2 diabetes, which is the most common type of diabetes. There's two types. There's type 1 and there's type 2 diabetes. But the type 2 diabetes is by far the biggest issue in the country. Type 1 is a little small subset of diabetes, a whole other problem. But anyway, you get eventually you're insulin resistant for years or decades, and eventually you develop pre-diabetes and then diabetes and diabetic complications. But meanwhile, while all that's happening, while you're insulin resistant, it's wreaking havoc on every cell, every tissue, every organ in your body, and it's manifest by all of those things that I had. So I had all those medical problems. So I'd also lost weight in medical school by doing an Atkins diet. So that was, cutting out the carbs or restricting carbs. So I would try to keep it to 20 grams or less, but I would focus on protein, so lean meat. And so it was always a temporary weight loss strategy. I was always hungry. I didn't feel good. I felt better because I wasn't so fat, but I didn't feel good, and then it wasn't sustainable. I couldn't stay with it. So then I would fail and come back and wind up gaining all the weight and then more by doing that. So I thought, man, this time around, I don't know what it's going to do to me, but something in me is broken. I don't know what it is about me in particular, but I'm just going to have to live the rest of my life not eating carbohydrates. I don't understand why, and I don't know what that's going to do to me long-term health-wise, but I just can't do carbs. And so that's how I started all of this weight loss. But then, and it was probably about 4 or 5 months, and I had lost a lot of weight, and I was feeling a lot better, and all of my underlying conditions were getting better. But I was eating leaner protein. I was eating nuts. I was eating vegetables. I was eating, and I was getting better. But I came across a podcast just by accident when I was out for a walk, and it's called the SugarTrap, and it's Ben Bikman and Jordan Peterson, and that's when it all clicked. And I would highly recommend going on YouTube and watching this video. It's called the SugarTrap. That's what hit me, and I was like, wow, that's my problem. I thought insulin resistance was diabetes.
Right.
No, insulin resistance is the pandemic of our time. It is what's affecting literally everybody in the country. We're not even looking at the problem. And I was unaware of it as a doctor for 20 years. It came to me out of the blue just by accident. First of all, it's the carbohydrates that are the problem. That insulin resistance is the issue. What you're supposed to be eating is if you don't have a contraindication or an ethical objection, is high fat meat. That's what I did. I'm not quite a carnivore, but I'm pretty close. I eat a little bit of vegetables. I eat some fermented vegetables, but understanding that it's dietary fat is not to be avoided, like we've been told our whole life. Embracing dietary fat, that gives me satiety, that gives me energy, that has fixed all of it, where now this is how I live. And I don't really even think about it other than I want people to understand that that's how you're supposed to eat, and it takes care of everything else. It's the right fuel that you're supposed to put in your body, and then all the other problems go away. And it's just amazing to me that we're in this situation where this country is so sick. 40% of the United States is either pre-diabetic or diabetic. And again, when I say diabetic, I'm referring to type 2. Type 1 is a different problem, but 40% of the country is so insulin resistant that they can't control their blood sugar. So other things, I've been seeing patients in my surgery clinic, even though I'm a surgeon, but people who are like, all right, I want to know if I have insulin resistance. I'm not their primary care doctor. I'm not prescribing medicines, but we're getting measurements, labs, and discussing everything that I've learned. Because when I tell them, like, listen, I'm a small town general surgeon. As far as doctors go, I'm a caveman with a knife. All right, I happen to have figured this part out, and for whatever reason, I don't know exactly why, but this is somehow the biggest medical mystery in in the developed world, and it's what's killing everybody, and we're not even looking at the problem. So I'm trying to change that.
Deb, let's talk about your journey. What started it?
Well, Russ and I have been married a long time, and we both have been gaining weight as we've aged, and I really had just thought it was part of the aging process. You know, we're not as active, you know, we're still eating the same diet, and I started noticing Dr. Myers losing weight, and I didn't ask him questions about it, but then he started posting things on social media, and I really read his posts and considered, wow, this is really working for him. This is interesting. A while later, a friend at work, he was in his 50s, he had a pretty bad stroke. He was hypertensive, he was diabetic, overweight. He was active, was really the only good thing going on at the time for him, but he had a pretty bad stroke where it was debilitating for him. Rusty was having kind of the same health issues, and I was worried about him having that same issue, and so I decided I'm going to do this. And I went home and talked to Russ. I'm like, hey, I think we should do this. You know, it's working for Dr. Myers. I trust him. Let's try it. And surprisingly, he agreed to do that.
How do you feel, Russ? You were type 2, correct?
Yes.
And at one point you took metformin. And it made you feel bad.
Yep.
You didn't take it anymore and stuff. So tell us before and after, your lifestyle before and after.
Well, I ate what conventionally I'm told was quasi-healthy, but I had a horrible, like get up in the middle of the night, and if there was a cookie or ice cream or a donut, that was mine. And I would have my blood sugar checked in the morning. Deb would check it and it'd be high, and so I would starve all day and then try to really pick up my physical activity, and the next day it would be okay, and so that would tell me to eat another donut or piece of pie that day. And then I had a lot of issues that I just thought was related to my age and things like that. I had joint pain and just kind of lethargic. If the couch, if I sat down on it, took a lot to get me back up.
Yeah.
And
Gripey.
yeah, a little gripey, and a lack of focus. Like what I do, there's a lot of paperwork. I mean, not like you guys, but there's paperwork involved, and it's got to be done right, or there's consequences. And I would catch my thoughts while I'm working on this stuff being intruded, like, I need to go ride my bike, or I need to go wonder how my buddy's doing, or something like that. And I just thought, well, that's early dementia or whatever. There's nothing I can do about it. But then when Deb started talking about this diet, I was just like, well, if you're going to do it, let's do it. And so I just tried to be zero carb. I mean, I tried, and it took like 10 days. The first 10 days was the worst, because I felt like I told her, I said, what does a guy getting off heroin feel like? Because I was just trying not to do carbs, and it was killing me. It was like I see people eating stuff, and I was just like, I want that so bad. But I started having joint pain. Was the first thing I noticed, was a lack of joint pain. And reading Kim Berry's book, some of that I attribute possibly to like some of the vegetables I just quit, because I never knew that there was vegetables that cause joint pain and inflammation. Yes. And I had a pain in my neck all the time that was so bad that some days I would just call it quits and like go to bed, like I can't take this neck pain anymore. Man, that is gone. I started eating nothing but what I think is good food, is like, ribs and chicken, and like our air fryer thing, we got to clean it out 2 or 3 times a day, it seems like, because we're using it so much. But my energy's way up. Things don't seem to bother me as much as it used to. I'm focused when I'm doing a task. I'm focused on the task. If I get done with something, I'm not like, oh, I can take a break now. I was good. I did this thing. Now I move on to the next task and I do it. Or like she says, she hadn't had a gripe at me keep the lawn mowed for quite a while now. But it's just been really neat in that, like you guys were talking about putting on socks. Used to be I'd try to pull my leg up on the bed and my knees would just lock up. Like you could tell it was fluid in there. They just, that's as far as they'll go. And that's gone. Just a lot of good stuff. We went on vacation, and hiked all over up and down the mountains and stuff, and I wasn't first in line, but nobody had to wait for me anymore. It's I don't know, it's cool to look at, like, tomorrow's going to be a better day than yesterday was, or at least it'll be a good day, where before I was just like, this is just a long slide till my last day, and I feel a lot better. It's just, I don't know how to tell you, to me it's just super easy. I just eat a bunch of stuff I like, and then of course my snacking has changed. Now a snack is like a boiled egg or a piece of bacon, where before it was like, I'll eat these sour cream potato chips, and I don't know, it's just, I'm just kind of interested to see where it goes, and I kind of feel like my weight loss, I was pretty focused on that, and I lost about 32 pounds, and I'm kind of to a point right now where I start looking at my weight, and I think, well, I'm 6'2", and I'm going to be like 200. Well, that's a little guy. I've been like 6'2", 238 forever. And I'm kind of like, almost my mind tells me if I go down to like 190, that ain't healthy. It's like it's too little. So, but it's, I haven't seen any downside to any of it, and it's amazing. I'm kind of gotten conspiratorial about some of the research I've done. It's like these companies have just lied to us to make money. I mean, that's all it is.
Hey Deb, you were a sugar addict. Can we touch on that a little bit? Because I know that's the biggest thing, like other than emotional eaters, sugar addiction. I love the sweet stuff.
I love the sweet stuff. If I had a choice of eating a meal and dessert, sometimes I would just go with dessert. If people brought donuts, I was one of the first ones back to get it. It was the point, outpatient surgery, they would have snacks over there, cookies, and they call me, hey, we have cookies, come help yourself. Well, I would go there and help myself. They text me one day, hey Deb, we have some cake, we put you a piece back, and I just said, well, I'm not eating carbs. And so I don't feel the need to explain myself. It's an easy answer. I'm just not eating carbs. It doesn't offend anybody.
Right.
And they go, well, that's how you're losing weight, aren't you? You're not eating carbs. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly how. No sweets, no pasta, cookies and ice cream. I always had all kinds of sweets at the house. Grandkids come over, they like all the sweets, and we actually went through and just cleaned out our refrigerator, our cupboards. I mean, our cupboards now are bare. There's hardly anything in there. And I thought of all the crap that we were eating every day, thinking we were having healthy meals, meat and potatoes and vegetables every day, and the desserts are okay every now and then.
Or a bowl of oatmeal and a glass of orange juice. That I used to think that was healthy. Like that, man, that just couldn't be a worse thing that you could eat. And breakfast is the most important meal of the day thing. It's ridiculous.
Randall.
Yes.
So Randall's a type 1.
Correct.
So
Since the age of 3.
Yeah.
I'm 51.
Yeah. So how did this get all started with you? And we're going to talk about the differences, because there's it's deep.
It's pretty
Yeah.
deep. It's pretty deep. Well, I am friends with Dr. Myers. He doesn't treat me. He's not prescribing anything. He started this diet and it piqued my interest. So I talked to my wife about it. I talked to my endocrinologist about it. They both were a little skeptical. Endocrinologist said absolutely not. That'll put you in ketoacidosis. As you know, type 1 diabetics, that will kill you. I'm here today. I got it's an Omnipod 5, which is an AID, aided insulin delivery system, in conjunction with a CGM. Unless you have both of those, I don't think you, as a type 1 diabetic, you could do this diet.
No.
I tried it before I got the pod, and it was pretty bad. But I've had the pod since May 28th, so not quite 2 months. I'm already down almost 30 pounds.
That's awesome.
My neuropathy is going away. They tell you it's permanent damage. I feel like my cells are repairing themselves.
How come? Why?
I used to, walking on hard surfaces, tile, hardwood floors, concrete, I would have to have something on my feet. Flip-flops, and I'm not talking socks, shoes of some sort. Or it was so painful, I couldn't bear to walk. Now, the past 2-3 weeks, I've noticed, and I didn't even think about putting shoes on. I just walked off the carpet onto the hard surface.
I want to say very specifically with type 1s, you have to be very, very careful if you want to do this. But if you go to the American Diabetes Society and look at their recommendations and their expectations, if you're a type 1 diabetic and you do things correctly and you slowly modify your lifestyle to where you are in a ketogenic lifestyle, not abruptly, but slowly, and with medical supervision and with a continuous glucose monitor and with a delivery system, you should expect to have a normal hemoglobin A1C. He's never been below 7, and he's been as high as 10, or and all of these hyperglycemic complications. You've had retinal issues, and anyway, so he's had serious life-threatening complications from diabetes because he's been a type 1, and that's the expectation for type 1s.
Right.
That's the expectation is type 1 is you've got a shortened lifespan, you're going to have a heart attack, you're going to have a stroke, you're going to be blind, you're going to have kidney failure, you're going to have limb amputations, and there's no reason for that. He should expect doing this appropriately and following with his CGM and following with his delivery system that he could have a normal hemoglobin A1C to get rid of the glycation complications, I'm so happy for him, man. It just makes me.
Well, like you said, I've never seen below 7. And in a month, almost 2 months, not quite 2 months, I'm already down to 6.8.
But we're just friends. I'm not treating him.
I
I'm
know.
not, The main
Disclaimer.
the main issue is that that he doesn't develop a hypoglycemic event. If you were a type 1 and you were going to go this way, you have to have a CGM, and you have to have probably people around you that know what's going on so they can pull you out of the fire if you get in trouble. But there is no reason that you can't have a normal A1C, and there's no reason why you have to have a chronic lifetime of hyperglycemic complications that ends in a heart attack, stroke, cancer, dementia, renal failure, limb amputations, blindness, all of that stuff. That's just almost just assume that's your fate if you're type 1, and you don't have to do that. I mean, not while I'm his friend.
Right.
Yeah.
So what other differences have you noticed?
My attitude,
Yeah.
because it will affect your glucose.
Yeah.
Your attitude will affect it. I'm more calm. I'm more focused, like you were saying earlier. I seem like I'm a little more task oriented. As soon as I get done with something, I move on to something else. I don't sit there and go, man, now do I have to do something else? I want to do something else. So it's just, I don't know. When I was younger and I felt better, I was more task oriented. Get it done, get it done, get it done, get it done. Here of late, I don't feel like doing it, and I just, like you were saying, I just thought that it was my fate to have all these illnesses. I had diabetic retinopathy. I'm blind in my right eye from it. But my vision is a lot better in 2 months. It's a lot better. I can focus, not mentally, but physically, my eyes, I can focus on things. It's
And you have
kind of harder.
neuropathy in your fingers too. It was affecting your work.
Yep, had neuropathy. I've had arthritis. You can see how big my knuckles are. They don't hurt as bad. They don't hurt as bad. I can hang on to, I'm mechanic, so I wrench on a lot of stuff all the time. But I did it in pain. I even bought special gloves to pad my hands so I could hang on to my tools. which if any mechanics watch this, they'll know you can't work in gloves. I don't know. Life's just better. And it's only been 2 months.
That's awesome.
I can't wait. I know people are like, oh, I want to go back. Well, I want to jump forward.
Yeah.
I want to jump forward in 12 months to see what's happening.
What happens in 12 months?
Yeah.
How long, Russ, do you think it took you to get used to it? We're in a society where we want it fast, you know. I mean, you can tell that by all the fast food restaurants. So for you to start feeling the difference, like this is worth giving up my pie and ice cream for.
Really, it was about 2 weeks, and that's one of the things that was a motivating factor to me was really fast benefits. I thought, like, he's talking about his feet hurt with neuropathy, and I assumed that's what was wrong with my feet, because my first deal when I touched the floor in the mornings off of the bed, oh man, it hurt, and I used to tell her like I had to beat my feet loose, move around, and they would get to where they worked and didn't hurt so much. And man, that happened real quick, probably 2 weeks, and I would hit the floor and I'd be just like, wow, that don't hurt. And the same thing, the truck, if I had to get into the bed of the truck, I would like Spider-Man climb as close to the ground as I could get before I'd drop off because it hurt so much. And I'd catch myself like jumping off the bumper and then jumping off the tailgate down on the ground and just landed, and it was like, wow.
Yeah.
And at first I thought, well, at that time I'd lost about 12 pounds. What's the weight? You know, it's some physics that there's not as much mass and it don't hurt as much, but it wasn't that. It was the edema that was just gone. And it took about 2 weeks, and then I had what I would call like a dramatic weight loss, and then it kind of tapered off as far as weight loss, but I felt good, and I just quit eating like crazy. I got to a point where I was mentally, I still wanted to eat 3 times a day. It was like, okay, it's breakfast, it's lunch, it's dinner, and then I got to where it was like if I missed a meal or whatever, I wasn't hungry. I mean, it would just be like, are we eating dinner tonight? I'm like, nah, you know, and just go to bed, and I knew something was up then, and I just stuck with it. And like I say, it was easy in a way. It was a lot easier than I used to try to have a diet where I was just burning calories. You know, like I would go ride my bicycle, I would walk. I'm just going to do, you know, more out than I'm putting in. And I would be hungry all the time. And Deb, we have kind of a routine. When she works, I bring her into work, drop her off, and then I would blow straight to Brahms for 2 sausage biscuits or whatever. I mean, I had to have them. And now it's like, you know, I just go through the day and like, oh, maybe I ought to eat something. And it took about, like I say, about 2 weeks, and there was real change, and that motivated me to just keep doing it. And like I told her, we were talking this morning, I said, if I hadn't had the dramatic weight loss, but I had still had the much better blood sugar and the just feeling better, I said I would still do it. Even if I was still at the same weight, I'd still stick to this diet or regular human consumption or whatever. But just for the benefits that I mean, I hate to sound like I'm harping on it, but man, I'm like enthusiastic again. It's like I told her, I said, you know, it used to be my racing breaks in the summer. So all summer long I would just sit around. Well, now I'm at the motocross track. Yeah. Or I'm telling her, I said, I need to find a race because I'm driven to do it again.
So here's a guy who has.
Yeah.
He's taken. If you listen to mainstream thought, if you're diabetic, if you're type 2 diabetic, that is a chronic progressive disease. He's reversed it. He's cured it. He doesn't have. He's not a diabetic. If you're type 1 diabetic, that you have to live with a hemoglobin A1C of 7. No, you don't. You don't need that. You don't need to be walking around in a hyperglycemic state wreaking havoc on your body. He can have a normal hemoglobin A1C. He can have a normal triglyceride to HDL ratio. He doesn't have to suffer from hyperglycemic complications and all of the stuff that happened there. It's a lot more work for him, and it's a whole different thing. I wish it was as simple as, you know, for me going to Dollar General and raiding the spam aisle. But it's possible for him to live a normal, healthy life
That's another thing that's changed. Used to, I would have to eat and I wasn't even hungry because of my glucose level. Now I only eat when I'm hungry.
Right. From my standpoint, I am down 120 pounds from a year ago. My blood pressure is perfect. My lipids are perfect. I have something that I'm mostly interested in is the triglycerides and HDL. My HDL is higher than my triglycerides, so like it's you don't hardly ever see that. But I had a CT coronary scan, and that looks for calcifications in your coronary arteries, and my score was 0. So that's like the best you can get.
Right.
My blood pressure is perfect. I'm not on any medicine, and everything about my life is so dramatically better. Every day I wake up, I feel better, and there's nothing that tastes better than feeling good.
Right.